You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
All right, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, every Monday night right here, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. The Answer here if you're in Central Florida. A few days later, we'll be on streaming anywhere you like to stream, Spotify, iTunes, and then if you're a YouTuber, like us, subscribe us over there. Contractor Talk Podcast is where you'll find us there on YouTube. ContractorTalkPodcast.com is where you find the links to everywhere else. That's a lot of it's a lot to swallow there, but that's what you get from this show is drinking from a fire hose, and this show is nothing less than that. We have a great guest for you today, and of course the great Hans Kennon is back from all of his Northern Lights trip from several weeks back. So what's going on, Hans?
Oh, I'm good. Glad to be back. People have been asking me to send them photos of the Northern Lights tour of the lawyers. I had a lawyer tell a judge the other day in a hearing, "You should hear about Hans's trip." And I'm just like, "What are you doing, man?" And the judge looked up. She's like, "Mr. Kennon?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's 100 guys in a room." And literally this lawyer says, "You should ask him about the trip." So,
well, did you tell her?
So I did for just a moment. You want to get a little, it was kind of a moving experience there, seeing all that metaphysical stuff going on there in the universe. But no, we're glad to be back. Glad to be back at it. Bringing in cases, helping people, it's nice to be back.
That's right. That's good. It's good. And this last week was a conference that was held in Orlando. It was called the Windstorm Conference, and it was where both sides would come together, both public adjusters and attorneys on both sides, to get continuing education credits. And years past has always been fun. It was a lot more well-attended for both sides showing up. And after many of the law changes in 2022, what we saw was just a big, just evaporation of, and on both sides too, right? Because you see the defense firms in there, yeah, down with this, down with that, and then you see where they are today. Yeah, they don't have work either.
Exactly. I mean, it is funny to see. It's like you want to go cowards, right, as they all run out of Windstorm. I mean, over the years, Windstorm was a juggernaut. I mean, just thousands of people went. You fought to get into the classes. You had to look at the schedule and figure out when you were going to go to what, because you didn't want to miss the case law update with Andy Rock and all these sort of things you pick up on.
That's right.
And these days, I looked at the thing and I'm like, I think are classes just Thursday? Like it seemed like they used to be, like I said, you fought all week for classes, but it's always
they were open all 3 days. But there was like the one to Wednesday was all Xactimate stuff, so most people didn't get there till Thursday, unless they wanted to show up for Xactimate. So, but with that, let's try our technical advantages here on the show. We have a special guest for you today, Jack Hanks with VPA. Speaking of the Windstorm Conference, we connected again there. It almost seems every year we'll find ourselves on one of these big seminars and kind of catching up and things. But Jack, what's going on? Can you hear us okay?
What's happening, guys?
All
Good
right.
to see you again, Richie. It was a good time in Orlando, but the turnout wasn't like it used to be for sure. It was just sad. I mean, there's no reason for the other side to show up, right? So.
Yeah, no kidding, especially these days.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that things aren't happening everywhere else in the country, and I think that's where we caught up on is because we were so busy here in Florida, at least for me. My focus was here in Florida in the Southeast, and then with all the law changes that happened in Florida, many people are doing the same things. They're keeping our eyes on other states, keeping our eyes on Texas, Colorado, New York. I mean, major cities where freezes happen, hailstorms occur, fires happen, and where folks need our help as advocates in the industry and such. And Jack is travels all over the place, and helps folks everywhere. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, Jack.
Well, I'm a licensed public adjuster. My first claim was in 1992, so I've been doing this quite a while. We are licensed and operating in 44 states across the country, including your beautiful state of Florida. As public adjusters, I'm sure your audience knows, we handle claims to ensure that the homeowners and the property owners get represented, and all we ask is they get treated fairly per the policy and get what and get what they're intended to get. And our job is to ensure those things move as swiftly and as fairly as possible. That being said, every day our job is getting more difficult and more difficult, unfortunately. So.
That's unfortunate. And I mean, even this year, I mean, every year we look to see what's happening in the legislative session. And, they continue to it's like you just kind of continue to turn the screws just a little bit tighter every single year. And it's like, at what point is the pendulum going to finally hit the wall and start swinging the other way for the consumer? And can we hold our breath long enough? The wrecking ball is still out there. Even in public adjusters, I was looking to see, are there any bills moving forward in Florida? And like one of them is like, whose dumb idea was this, though, to sponsor a bill that says, hey, if you're over 65, then just because you're over 65, you can cancel your contract anytime with a public adjuster with no fee, no penalty. I'm like, so are we asking people what their age is now? I mean, like, what the crap is going on?
Part of your business criteria.
I was talking. I mean, we do work like all over the country. Now, I was talking. I think you with that conversation. It's like, when did PAs become such the bad guy, man? Well, I mean, it's just it's amazing to me what they're all just shooting guns at us. I mean, the bar association or the attorneys is very strong, but man, our little PAs are getting chopped off one leg at a time here all over the country, and these laws are piling up against us in Florida and Kentucky and Georgia and Utah, Pennsylvania. They're coming at us one by one, and it just it's very difficult and very sad, and it's hard to fight billions of dollars when you only have millions of dollars, right? So that's right. It's hard to keep up with all this, and that's with intent from the other side. I guarantee you, right?
Yeah. And more allowances of insurance policies to put in these exclusions, like public adjusting exclusions. Like, how are you restricting a consumer to have help from a public adjuster whose job is to help folks that are in need, and they're not even getting paid until payments come from that claim? And it's just beyond me why the government doesn't want to have folks that are going to assist clients in their time of need. It's insane.
Well, I can tell you what they're doing is
they're
making
lawsuit going on right now with the anti-PA endorsement. We're finally attacking it as an industry, but it's taken a while, and there's already surplus policies and citizens policies out there that have the endorsement, because like any homeowner or property owner, if you can get a discount, you're going to take every discount you can, not knowing that if you do need representation of a public adjuster, it's unavailable because your policy automatically excludes that, and there's nothing we can do to get around that as a public adjuster. And what's baffling to me, no offense against our attorney friends out there, but every claim doesn't need an attorney. Every claim doesn't need a PA, and then they're actually, instead of paying 10%, they're going to end up paying 30 or 40%, and then there's no fee statute in Florida either. So the consumers are the ones that are actually paying the penalty on this. It's horrible. It's just not great. It's not great for the industry. It's not great for the consumer. I don't even see it being a benefit for the insurance companies in the long run, because it's going to go straight to lawsuit instead of having us try to work the files, which it's a little bit mind-boggling to me from this side, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you one thing. What I see is they're making it where PAs can't work and lawyers can't get paid. That's kind of what they've done. They say you're not allowed to help them. And if you're not allowed to help them, you're not allowed to pay. But no one's has to pay Mr. Kennon for his time either. So they're really trying to make everybody go bare, essentially, and taking away their ability to get someone initially to help them on the ground with boots on the ground, then later for lawyers. I mean, there's a lot of cases these days that are good, but simply you can't afford to take them any further.
Right, and as a consumer, then you're expected to, and this is what will happen, is that folks will not realize that they have this assistance available for them, or they're buying these policies that become the norm that exclude public adjusters, excludes experts and things like that, unless they authorize them first, right? So they can only use and pay for experts out of the policy if they want to use them for their betterment. If they want to use them to short pay, deny, slow walk the claim. And so that's some real stuff, right? I mean, the book, the delay, deny, defend. I mean, that's not only a strategy, it's life for them, and it's holding on to your money. And what we've seen in Florida is that they were overpaying their subsidiaries by the tune of billions and billions of dollars just so they can stay within their 5% range of profitability that they have as a Florida property insurance company. And then we see headlines like, and God love them, I say it every time. So definitely no shade at all. But the president or the CEO of Slide, him and his wife collectively making $1 million a week off of their insurance company, Slide Insurance Company. It's like, come on, guys. I mean, you were one of the 15 that denied more than 50% of all the claims filed by Hurricane Milton, which if you have filed Hurricane Milton claim here in the state of Florida and you've been underpaid or denied, you still have until April 9th to file a supplemental claim and get help. So if you've been underpaid, not satisfied, and you haven't signed a full release, there's still time for you. I see Hans shuffling through what in the back in the days used to be the Sentinel, but now he had to print them out and bring it in. So.
Yeah, I feel so contemporary. I actually printed out an article instead of just bringing the newspaper with me. But I would have if I could have found it. But I somewhere in my house. There's a discussion we just talked about the about them funneling all those billions. There's some bills pending now that says they were sparked in part by outrage last spring over a study that the Office of Insurance Regulation withheld from legislators for 3 years. The study found insurers avoided a 4.5% state profit cap by funneling billions of dollars to affiliates, often depicting that money as fees their own affiliates charged them, while claiming that their insurance divisions lost millions between 2017 and 2019, which is what they used as a basis to try to put Jack and myself and you out of business by saying, see, they're losing money because of all these frivolous claims made by PAs, jacking it up, frivolous suits brought by lawyers, all those other things. But now then the next thing is, I noted in the Sun Sentinel, as they said, but these bills face a rough road to becoming law this year. On February 5th, with the 2026 session nearly half complete, Senate President, we got to hold in God to this next year, Senate President Ben Albritton said he doesn't want to see major changes that could obstruct, love this, long-awaited premium reductions he's convinced are just around the corner.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So the problem is people are paying triple for the insurance with less coverage. So
right.
I mean, it's like any good business, they're manipulating the numbers to make it behoove them. And what nobody fails to understand, and what really irks me about this whole thing, there's statistics out there, not just in Florida, but around the country. Less than 5% of all the claims are represented by an attorney or a public adjuster. So 95% of the time, they're getting their way and controlling the whole dynamic of the claim. And we're basically here for the runoff and a couple drips and drabs, and they're still upset. So they just really want to control 99.9999% of the claims themselves, and that's, I mean, it's not a healthy situation, and I think Florida is paying the price on the. I mean, property values have dipped, real estate's not great, people can't afford to live there. It's not great, right? I mean, Florida is a beautiful. I mean, people go there to retire, right? Not to go broke. It's horrible. So,
and we were wondering that the same thing. We talk about it all the time. Where are the mortgage companies? Where are the banks as they hold the notes on these assets? And if you're getting underpaid by your insurance company, and that's the norm, and you're seeing these headlines come out like 15 insurance carriers denied more than 50% of all the claims, I'm thinking, oh my God, that's millions and millions of people that have damage to their house that did not get reimbursed. So you're going to have Frankenstein hodgepodge houses from Southwest Florida all the way down the I-4 corridor. And it's like, you're not going to do anything. I think it's more north than that, but I'm being dramatic. But still, it's like, you're going to see that. And then where are the mortgage companies there going saying, well, now we've been gifted back this house that we can't do anything with because it's so damaged. And I don't get what else do we need to push Florida. The problem is, again, going back to dictator DeSantis, and it's rough to say that because I voted for him twice. He was very popular, and that was the problem, is that in 2022, between 2022 and 2023, he made the legislators push through, and that's why he did it through special sessions. He couldn't get it done through the regular session, push these crazy big insurance lobby agenda because he was given $100 million to run for president. he changed the law one day before he announced he was running for president, that he would have to step down as the governor of the state of Florida as soon as he announces he runs. He changed the law that says that he didn't have to disclose any of the expenditures from himself or his cabinet, so he can go up to Iowa and all 99 weird, as small as it is really, counties up there and go around there on our dime, right? And really on the insurance lobby dime, who was at that point crying that they were in crisis. And then they poop out $100 million. And I'm like, oh, I've never seen that before. If I'm in a financial crisis, I don't just poop out $100 million and be like, there you go.
Well, I think one thing I see with Senator Albritton is that he's hoping that these premium reductions are around the corner. The increases were fake, right? I mean, the increases were unjustified. Were unjustified. So now they're like all sitting around going, oh, we hope by putting PAs out of work and making lawyers not get paid brings down premiums. We hope. I don't know why the legislature doesn't use the report that they had for 3 years and say you have to reduce rates if you want to write insurance here. You take them back 3 years, 4 years, whatever the number would be. That would honestly be fair and be honest before they started ginning up all these numbers, saying, oh, these are all fees we're getting charged, when in fact they're paying their affiliates the money. I don't know why the legislature is so circumspect on, like I said, full of hope that what they do by damaging consumers and hurting representatives for them, that somehow that's going to generate a savings.
Right. And we saw that in Senate Bill 76. That was in 2020, by the way. That's when they were saying that the boogeyman switched from restoration contractors. That's why I have the Restoration Association of Florida. But they switched focus quickly after 2019 when they imposed assignment of benefit legislation. Now they said, okay, now it's roofers and attorneys. They're the boogeyman. They're the reasons why premiums continue to go up. They're the reasons. And then Senate Bill 76 came out that year. That's when they had that overreaching roofing solicitation stuff. If you knock on a door and give something in exchange for providing an estimate where insurance proceeds are payable, then even if you give a pen, you can give anything, and that would be a violation. $10,000 fine, first degree felony. Well, our association filed suit against that and kept it out for years and years as we litigated that. Now, within that same bill, said that all insurance companies had to provide this breakdown of all expenses, because we really got to get to the breakdown of who was really behind all of these, these damaging high rates and all that stuff. And so that's the report that Hans was speaking of that was held for years. Well, that law said that by next year, all insurance companies had to report all of their expenditures, to break down how much they paid defense firms, how much they paid plaintiff firm, how much the claim originally was, how much they paid at the end, all breakdown of all their expenses.
Have you seen that yet?
No, I still haven't seen it. I do remember the year after we called them out on the floor, and they were like, well, the OIR, that was right before David Altmaier lit everything on fire and left. Well, he said he gave everybody one more year. And so he says, oh, don't worry about it. Let me give you one more year. And here we are in that 2022 year. And then we go, Governor DeSantis is beating his drum around and saying it doesn't matter, vote it through. And then Chris Sprouse was the Speaker of the House at that point. That's why they didn't do it to the regular session. He didn't want to go as far as the governor did. And he was fighting me. He said, no, I'm not going to do it. And he was the Speaker of the House. He said, you can't do it without my signature done. So he didn't do it. So what did he do? He then called a special session. Soon as the chairs changed, it's like he owned them, and he did. And he said, you're going to do this. You're going to push it through. I was sitting, and I wouldn't have known this unless I was there myself, sitting next to Senator Boyd, who was in the Senate, who was the quote-unquote bill sponsor of that death bill. I was sitting the day before the bill came out. I was literally sitting in his office, and we're both wondering what's going to be on the bill. That's bad when me and the legislator don't know what the heck's going to be on the bill, and he's supposed to be signing off on it the next day, and he did. So he sent a copy of us to us at 7 o'clock on Friday night, sent it through my lobbying team, and then they sent it to us, and we were like, we were speechless. We were like, "This is, are you kidding me right now?" And then it got voted on that next Tuesday. It was Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, on Tuesday, opening up, and then it got shot through. And by May of that year, it was signed and put into law. And I was like, that was on that regular session. And the special sessions, they were just pushing stuff through that would have never been. But it was everything that the insurance companies wanted for the last 10 years. And again, it was in exchange for that $100 million. But like Jack sees, I mean, other states look at Florida and they say, oh, that's what they're doing. Why don't we do that here? And it just trickles. And there
was a bill 3 weeks ago. I was playing golf with my wife, and I looked down at my phone, and it's literally going off every 6 seconds. We have an office in Kentucky, and a bill popped up on a Tuesday night to go to special vote on a Wednesday. A State Farm agent who's a state representative, and a couple of people from Kentucky Farm Bureau concocted this bill, and they want to fee cap public adjusters at 5%, and they want to get rid of a bunch of other stuff that we can and can't do. And it's basically the step one of putting us out of business, because a lot of these State Farm is infamous for not handling claims properly, and Farm Bureau they run that state, so they just put together a pack of $20 million and talked to some state representatives. Next thing you know, boom, boom, boom. We barely had time to get a lobbyist involved before it went to the Senate. And I can tell you, in the House, it got voted 96-1. It passed 96-1.
Holy cow! Wow.
Not 95-2, 96-1. That's almost impossible.
The one guy, what was he?
Yeah.
He was like a plaintiff's lawyer. He was a PA. He was like,
exactly.
Well, it was not 96-1 because it was so fair. That's why
and
it
the
was
problem
so
with this is I don't think the average consumer, and quite honestly, Richie, until you start seeing this as a industry, I didn't know how deep, dark the state of insurance was until you start working in it and start seeing it. I mean, even the younger PAs, younger attorney, younger restoration guys, they're just trying to make a living, and they don't understand how far-reaching this really goes. And I tell all our clients anymore, the policy's cute and fun. It's not. It's about business anymore. It's like a speed limit. They're going to drive as fast as they want to, but they know that until they get caught, right? There's no real penalties for these guys anymore, so they're getting away with murder. Well, it's horrific.
And the problem is, though, when they get caught, nothing happens. Like in Florida with this whole OIR report and all these things. I mean, it's really criminal because
their hand was in the cookie jar.
I mean, and they're literally stealing money from the consumer. They're literally they're getting these rate increases, getting paid. That's literally theft.
It is.
That is civil theft. There we go.
Jinx.
I mean, and everyone goes, "Oh, that wasn't right." And then that's it. That's right.
We're like, I know. So let's do something about it. And we expect the state to open this investigation. And in going to it's super important on who you vote for, right? Because going back to why are public adjusters being so disrespected? Well, when you have the head of the snake calling everybody locusts that are working in the industry. I mean, Jamie Petronas was the CFO of the state of Florida. He is over DFS, which is Department of Financial Services, which is over the Office of Insurance Regulation. He was saying that, and DFS is over the public adjusters. He was saying that you guys, who I am the overseer of the body of, you are all locusts. You show up after a major event, helping people out and such. And I'm like, so where's the problem with that?
Yeah.
I'm literally just beside myself on why, and that's why we were so disrespected. That's why the public adjusters were, and contractors are, and everybody except for the insurance company, right? I mean, we're not expecting people to show up on behalf of the insurance company, or God love them, the FEMA guys, to mess up your roof and staple in or nail in these 4-inch, 6-inch nails, of blue tarps all over and ruin your roof. I mean, it's like, no, we don't need you. We didn't ask for you. We don't want you. Yeah. But here we are living with it. But going back to that, it started then a few years ago when Petronas did that after Hurricane Ian, right? And then now we have a change, right? And then we had the Office of Insurance Regulation change, and now we're left with this Blaze guy. And so he spoke at one of the FAPIA events in Florida for public adjusters, and he was trying to make it like, oh, he's going to investigate all this stuff. He's not investigating anything.
Yeah.
And it continues to happen to where they're rubber stamping all of these bad policies that don't do anything for consumers except hurt them while the premiums are continuing to rise. And so we'll talk about the exclusions and things that that we need to know about here, especially if you have a business, the chances that you have a surplus lines policy of insurance is high. Right, so we're going to talk to you about what that looks like if you have a commercial policy, and what you need inside of your policy to ensure that you're going to be covered in case of that one time of loss. Right, you need to be ready for that and know what's in your policy, what to cover. So what you're covered for. So we're going to take a break. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. We'll be right back. All right, we're back live on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial here in Central Florida, and then on streaming everywhere you'd like to stream, Spotify, iTunes, and of course on YouTube. You want to check in with our Dapper suit of the week, which I forgot, I failed to mention on the first part of it, but Hans Kennon over here, you'll never see the same Dapper attire at any show going back years and years. I dare you to check out every single one and compare the outfits, though. But whether it's a new tie, whether it be a new handkerchief thing that I call it.
Handkerchief.
Is that the right terminology for that? I'm not even sure. But anyways.
Well, you can't blow your nose in mine. That I can tell.
But Dapper nonetheless. And so any way you like to consume the show, we're here for you. Really, as a contractor-based show, we started out more or less kind of like The View for contractors, right? Just a bunch of guys talking about what's going on and in the industry, and really, it's just like you said, Hans. I mean, it's like we're pointing out all this information, and the state of Florida is doing nada with it. And right before the break, I was talking about this new chief of the Office of Insurance Regulation and my dissatisfaction from what he was saying. It's like a little puppet. His mouth's moving, and you're like, oh, okay, he's saying some good stuff. But then you look to see what he's doing, and it's the opposite, which he says, I'm going to be looking at these things. We're going to be closing up some gaps. We're going to be doing the blah, 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 your typical politician stuff. And when you see the results, which are nothing, we still see that policies in the state of Florida are getting worse. And what I mean by the allotment of more and more exclusions, it used to be before, I would say, hey, if you're looking at an insurance policy on a residential HO3 policy, it's what they call the full service or full coverage policy, right? Then you're going to make sure that you're going to look at exclusions. I'm going to say, look at the exclusions. But now I'm going to say, not only do you want to look at the exclusions, now you want to look at the limitations and any other types of like matching or caps, like a $10,000 cap, if you want to use whoever you want to use. Now there might be endorsements that might say you can't use a public adjuster. It might say you can't use the services of an expert. It might say all these things, and it'll even have a roof surface schedule on there, which is unconstitutional in the Florida state government, as the statute already exists. It says you get two things in an HO3 policy. You get ordinance and law, and you get replacement cost value, period. And now we have policies that exist after, years and years and years after the statute exists here in Florida, that says now that if you have a roof that's, say, half the life expectancy of the roof, whatever it is, 30 years roof, and you're 15 years into it, then they're going to take 50% of the value off of that and not giving you full replacement cost value, which that's unconstitutional. That goes against our state statutes. How did that even get rubber stamped? Did anybody look at it in the Office of Regulation? Is anybody home is my question. And so it putting your vote counts, right? We talked about the legislators just being overrun by dictator DeSantis, and they're not legislating. From Representative Geller last year, he was so frustrated. He stood up and he's like, why aren't we legislating? Everybody's just sitting there with their mouths closed. I was in a room of 14 Republicans, and literally everybody's doing the math before they got it into the committee. They're like, okay, it used to be all the Democrats stuck together, and then we would just have to get a couple of Republicans to change their mind and go with us, and boom, we do what we want to do, but we don't have the numbers, so we can't go against our own, so we're just going to all vote for it because we don't have the numbers. And I was so mad during special sessions. Everybody wanted to tell the governor no. Everybody wanted it to, but more vulgar, more with, an F and all that. Anyway, but they wanted to tell him no and stand up, but they didn't have the numbers. They said this year the Democrats aren't sticking together. This year everything's going crazy. The governor is threatening Republicans that if they don't go against him or they don't go for him, he'll run people against him in the primary. I'm like, what kind of shady stuff is going on? And then we had the taking away the contractor rights, taking away assignment of benefits, taking away their attorney's fees, and then taking away homeowners' attorney's fees. Well, our organization filed suit against the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, Construction Licensing Board, all this other stuff. Well, we get a response from the governor's office.
What?
And I'm like, So we get a response from the governor's office that said, I'm not a lawyer, but this doesn't look right. And then a month later, we get a motion to
intervene.
There you go. Motion to intervene by the governor's office, Florida Fire and Marine, whatever, and like some other random insurance company. I can't remember which one. So I'm like, what in the world is this? Well, everything was coming from the governor's office. And a month before the hearing came up for the motion to dismiss, the judge changes. It just says, judge swap out this judge. There's no reason why. And then we come up to the motion to dismiss hearing, and the judge hears both sides, and then he picks up this piece of paper that's pre-printed and reads the motion to dismiss order right there in front of everybody. I mean, if that's not telling you, you already knew what was going to happen before we all walked in the door, I don't know what is, but that was the situation. So that's the type of control that that our governor had, where not only do we have such a robust budget, I mean, I think we're in the surplus of like, I don't know, 25 billion or something like that. And this guy was just firing off. I mean, you see that what he gets involved with, and now he doesn't have to disclose the expenditures that he has from himself or his cabinet. He could just go on and do whatever he wants. So it's wild, man. It's just like, I love the guy for COVID, kept my business open. Thank you. And then he screwed us all right after. Thanks for keeping us open long enough to shut us down. Right. So
you start to wonder whether you're like, well, I was better off if he shut me down.
Right. Well, then we can get government assistance, right? Live off the government.
The PDP, PDF, PF flyer, whatever it is.
Yeah. Blah. So, and then, I don't know, man. I just was very frustrated with our governor for that reason. And I did get my 15 seconds of fame to talk to him, right? I mean, I hired the guy that it was chief of staff that went over to work for Ballard, and I was like, at least give me a phone call. So he was basically like, dude, you know what happened in 2018, right? And I did, because I was lobbying, I was running with FJA, right?
Right.
The FJA raised, and you were there too, Hans, don't act like you were. But
raised
$3.5 million for Governor DeSantis. At that point, he was just a congressman running for governor against Mayor Gillum, who was the mayor of Tallahassee. He was a Democrat, but he was somebody that you could all, he was a cool guy, right? I mean, anyways, we wouldn't go down that road because some other thing. Anyways, but at that point in time, he was somebody that, was fair to the consumers, somebody that could really help us in protecting our rights, right? And protecting consumer rights, not big insurance.
Right.
And so that was well needed in that time. And DeSantis won by only 200 votes. And so it was such a tight race that there was a recount.
Yeah.
Not to the Chad situation kind of thing in Florida, but almost as bad. But a recount occurred. He almost lost. He won by 200 votes. He couldn't let that go. He couldn't wait to get his chance to get back at the trial bar. That was his opportunity to take away attorney's fees. It wasn't for the consumer. It was to get back at the attorneys. He was so mad that these billboard attorneys were out there gloating, and then these fake facts came out that said that all this percentage of money went to the attorneys and not to the consumers. And so that just fueled the fire. And really, at the end of the day, he got bought and paid for. So, and I'm just very disappointed in that fact, because you think you'd be stronger than that to get us through all the BS of COVID and say, well, I mean, every other week he was having like, doctors on his, round table things. And I was like, yeah, see, and they're like, the hospitals are just overflowing. And I go with my dad for his hip surgery, and there's like nobody there. And I'm like, this is such crap, man. I mean, this is the stories that come through the fake media is bad. And you hear it even worse in Tallahassee, because all you hear is that all this fraud is going on. But the only proof of fraud is when the adjusters came up right before they changed the law.
Nope.
Of course, they went to Bob Rommel, right? And then they said that they couldn't take the thumb drive and put it into the state system because it could have a virus. So that's what delayed it, apparently, from the information there, even though they were testifying in front of the committee, saying that they illegally changed my estimates without my knowledge and kept my name on it while you were slow walking or denying folks using my name as an adjuster. And so still no investigation. They put the people on all these television things, and they were interviewing him, and you were thinking, okay, finally this is going to get some traction. Finally something is going to happen. And all we're seeing now is, oh yeah, we have these transparency laws coming through.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, they're suing that kid for $600 million, right?
No, what kid?
Which kid?
The adjuster?
Yeah, the kid was on 60 Minutes. Heritage filed, I think it's either $300 or $600 million they're suing this kid for because it damaged their business. So there's an attorney in Florida named John Tolley. His firm picked up. They're defending him.
Oh, good.
And they have a GoFundMe and all that. It's nuts. Yeah, they're suing this 29-year-old kid who was the adjuster on these claims that basically wrote a scope for X amount of dollars, and the insured got paid Y because he kept getting phone calls like, I thought you came out and you said we're getting all this stuff, right? And then the check would come, and it's 1/25 of what they talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, the insurance companies were taking his estimates, shaving them down to pennies on the dollar, and but leaving his name on it and sending it to the consumers, right? And he whistle-blew, went on 60 Minutes. Of course, they terminate him. Now they're suing this kid for $300 million. Because the defamation of character, all this stuff.
That's wild. That's wild.
So the cost of truth is $300 million, apparently.
That's it.
Evidently, yeah.
Well, I
mean, thank God he has a strong legal team, and we're all, we all kind of banded behind him and donated some money to defend this kid because, I mean, they're trying to ruin his life, man. It's insane. It really is. It is.
It's
incomprehensible.
I got my first lawsuit for fraud in 2015. And I'll tell you that I was definitely afraid. And if I didn't have Senator Farmer behind me at that point in time to defend, and for the same thing, right now, JT is just sticking up for this guy, and he will be successful. I know he will be because there's no fraud behind that. There's no ill intent. The only thing that exists here, and what I ended up getting them stuck on, and you can check it out, malicious prosecution in Broward County. And so, I think he's got something to go against him on, and thank goodness that we have that he has a good team behind him. That's just bullcrap. I mean, I don't know how else to say it except for you're doing the right thing. There's no, how I want to say, disparagement in there. And look at their reviews. I mean, do you know of an insurance company that has a Better Business Bureau account? You want to look at numbers. I mean, you look at how many civil remedy notices are filed against insurance companies versus how many, grievances are filed against contractors here in the state of Florida. There's a big delta on that. So we're going to have to take a quick break, give some thanks to our sponsors. This is our short break. We'll be right back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. All right, quick break there. Back on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Here with our special guest tonight, Jack Hanks. He's a veteran in the industry with VPA claims. I'll let you clean that up there, Jack. And national public adjusting firm that can bring a lot of his expertise to any situation, whether it be a fire, whether it be water loss, wind damage, those types of things. And let's get right into business because we only got a few minutes left. Well, about a little over 10 minutes left. But Jack, tell me a little bit about yourself, your company, and how we get a hold of you.
Well, like I said, we're in 44 states, including Florida. The best way to get a hold of us, our website is www.bpa.claims. We have, I think, over 20-some employees right now, most of them licensed adjusters, and it's a thing, man. And my email is jack@bpa.claims. Feel free to email us anytime with any questions or concerns. Or the big thing was we push too is let's look at these policies before you have something. That way we can tell you what the playing field is going to be. Because the biggest problem we see is consumers and even business property owners who have multi-million-dollar properties literally don't know what they have in their policy. Mm-hmm. They get a claim, they file it. Next thing you know, like we talked about earlier, they have all these endorsements, and they have $1 million roof system with damage, and they end up with a check for $168,000. And surprises aren't great, so we try to get out ahead of that stuff and work with the brokers to make sure that these policies are something that these business owners are tangible and they understand, and before they even have a claim, what they're getting into. Because sometimes it's not worth it. And there's a reason for that. Sometimes it's not worth filing a claim, and there's detours up, and they keep getting higher and higher and higher. And there's a business decisions on the other side being made that the consumers aren't very much aware of, unfortunately. But yeah, well, any questions, get a hold of us. We're available all the time, man. Which is what we do for over 30 years now. So
No, it's excellent. No, and that's a good point too. I mean, giving the busy business owner maybe the summary of your insurance policy. For instance, I really didn't know what policy I had for my corporate office, and I had some wind damage to the roof, to find out that I have I forget what the percentage is, but $125,000 deductible for wind. Yeah. But if the thing were to burn down, I have $1,000 deductible. So it's more likely that wind is going to damage it, and so the roof is it would probably be about $125,000. I got ACs on the roof and everything like that. So I was shopping for a policy that once I found that out, and I had the policy for years, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So I have that exposure. So me as a business owner, I had no idea. I thought I had my deductible was $1,000 except for a hurricane. And then I was like, okay, everyday storms, those occur, hailstorms, wicked windstorms in the middle of spring or summer. That's not a named storm. So I thought that I was protected in that way, to find out that I was not. And so there are certain things in there, and I have glass all the way around. Well, there's a $5,000 per window pane deductible that I had no idea. I'm like, is that per pane? What?
Per opening, yeah.
What?
I mean, it's getting to the point where these policies anymore are just basically fire policies. If the property burns, it's great, but I mean, otherwise you're literally self-insuring your roof and anything else, and it's between the endorsements and the limitations and the exclusions and deductibles and roof surface things. There's not a lot there, and the reason being that is they got their butts handed to them the last 30 years on these claims. All the roofers were door knocking, PAs were door knocking, attorneys were. I mean, a lot of this is not all of it. Some of this is our industry, and there's a lot of bad players in every industry, right?
I don't know. When you say that, it makes it sound like it's derogatory. It's like people knocking on your door. It's like the claim. It's either the claim exists or it doesn't. Because if not, you should be mad at the Girl Scouts then for knocking on your doors and getting you fat then for bringing you cookies, right? I mean, you can't do that, right? I mean, you're going to get mad at the guy for selling you a vacuum cleaner and knocking on your door and hustling? No.
Well, here's what I know today. Today I had mediation with them folks. They made a claim with Monarch, who took over a Citizens policy. Monarch agrees there's damage, says it's Hurricane Milton. Well, my folks were too late for that. They came to me just a couple months ago. So in that case, but for a guy knocking on their door and doing an inspection and finding damage, they would have had no shot. Now, in this case, it's not going to work out for them because they're too late. But this is a perfect example where Monarch says, you got Hurricane Milton damage. If someone had knocked on that door just a few months ago, instead of in January of this year, that had knocked on their door in November of 24 or any time before October 9th of 2025, they had a legitimate claim. And Monarch's going, hey, if you made it in on time, we would have paid you. Oh, we're so sorry, we can't pay you.
Oh, man,
because
we're bound by the law.
We can't do anything.
How many consumers or property owners get on their roof? I can't count on one hand how many times I've been on mine. Yeah. Right. So there's a reason why these vendors are out there. And
I'm trying to prevent foot traffic myself and wear and tear.
Apparently, there's a party on my roof all the time because there are all sorts of people are having foot traffic. What are they having, a bonfire on my roof? What are my kids doing up there?
Listen, man, you will never find me on my roof for that reason right there. You can't blame me for foot traffic on my roof. I don't think so.
ACs are on the ground for a reason, right?
That's right. But we see some things that then started this snowball effect where the insurance companies got so much momentum. Now they have experts trying to change the Florida building code to where it would, the administrative oversight that they have on forensic engineering on the Florida Board of Engineers. And so we've got this one rogue engineer whose name is George Miles, who's going around making false complaints on plaintiff experts and engineers that are making these forensic opinions. He's trying to say, well, no, your formulas are wrong. You didn't look at this. You didn't do that, and which are all there. And every complaint has been dismissed. He's created so much of a hassle, so much of an issue in this industry that and what what the board is coming back and saying, we don't oversee forensic engineering because it's opinion based off on all the information that you have and a relative amount of engineering certainty that you make this opinion. Just like anything, a doctor makes an opinion, right? I mean, they make an opinion, right? They are not factually bound by anything.
Hence the word expert, though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're qualified as an expert for that reason. There's licensing for a reason, right? I mean, there's background on why you do what you do. And all of my engineers had a complaint on them. And then so I call up SDI Global because that's where he works at. And they're like, oh, no, they're all independent guys. They're all independent. Blah, blah, blah.
I remember that.
I'm like, okay, yeah. Remember this part, this was what's funny and everybody needs to hear, is that we got to review the actual complaint that came from this quote-unquote guy, this we call him ICE, he's insurance carrier expert, George Miles. Well, the original complaint that he sent in was in Word document with the comments still on. And it was the last one that drafted it was Oversight, was their main guy from SDI Global. Had his name and his title and everything in there, editing the document for George Miles, right? And so if that's not incestuous, so I file suit on all of them. I'm like, screw this, you're going to go down. And they ended up dismissing all the claims against us, and we dismissed against them, quote unquote, no wrongdoing, right? But they knew what they were doing, right? And now he's doing it again, but now they're going up to the as high up as they can, using the money and the connections that the insurance lobby has to bring this forth to say, you know what, we're going to make this oversight for forensic engineering to where you have to have an on-site meteorologist. Right, you can't opine on weather unless it's done by a licensed meteorologist. They want you to do structural loads and calculations on every single one, and so it's going to make it so burdensome. You have to have the measurements. You have to order a hover on every single one. Hope to God that those satellite measurements are correct, or you're up there measuring yourself on a roof. Right. More wear and tear, more foot traffic. But you then are responsible for the whole thing, and I disagree with. I think you're going too far. I think that each side has their right to be able to offer their opinion based off the information they have at that time.
Well, look, the first thing is that in the court system, we used to follow a case called Jones, which allegedly allowed too much expert testimony, and we switched to Daubert, Daubert, Daubert motion that's utilized now in state court. And Daubert is a gatekeeper function by the trial judge that determines whether or not there are sufficient opinions are supported by science, that the facts are supported by science, which already, honestly, is a burdensome system as it is. But that's what everybody knows. The lawyers know it. Everyone knows. So the idea that you need to change something at the grassroots level really doesn't matter because the judge is still going to decide whether or not it comes in anyway.
Right. And so he also says he wrote something that was published. He wrote a report that the Insurance Journal, of course, they pick up any garbage and they run with it like it's fact. But they took this and said, yeah, George Miles did all this independent study, said that damage can occur to a clay or a tile roof under 110 miles per hour.
It can't?
It cannot. That's what he says. So so I Googled it, right? I mean, I'm looking and we looked where landfall or what the wind speeds were landfall from all the way up the coast from Hurricane Milton. We had 93 mile per hour cap height of wind in Sarasota. So you're trying to tell me that everybody in Sarasota that got hit with 93 mile per hour winds, they're fine. Their houses are totally fine.
And if it's not, they're liars.
Apparently, they're just liars. They're all fraud. They went up there and loosened up the tension on every single one. And again, I mean, that's the thought that every single fastener is at 100% tension. It's like,
well, now it's a defect, Richie. Now it's defectively installed. Had they done it correctly, the roof would have been fine. But it's only been 20 years. The roof's only been up there for 20 years with no problem.
Well, I mean, we probably do 400 to 500 large losses a year, and every one of those, the carrier brings their own expert in. And their findings, Richie, it's 100 to 1 in favor of the carrier. The math is virtually impossible what they bring. It's 1% of the time these engineers are bringing over find any damage whatsoever. Like
Right.
it's all just.
Or they'll find damage. They'll give it to foot traffic or wear and tear, or say it was installed incorrectly. Until we take a step back and we're like, well, wait a minute. The policy just renewed 6 months ago. So you're trying to tell me between then and now, all of a sudden it just got that much worse. It was
good enough to pass underwriting, but not good enough to make a claim.
Right.
Well, and they pull the weather from, airports 30, 40, 50 miles from the property. So the wind speeds are completely different across the street, right? So these reports are, they're very, to say the least, inaccurate. And I'm going to be very nice with that. But they're, it gives us, that's once again, and the frustration, going back, that's what we're here to do, is fight that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they keep limiting these laws and keep going inside of these states. These consumers are going to be sold down. They're going to be more sold down the river than they already are. It's almost the point of no return. It's not great.
It really is.
It's not great.
It really is. On the last 45 seconds here, go ahead and thank you again for being on our show, Jack. And it's great to see you. Hope we can see each other again sooner than later. But go ahead and give us how we can get a hold of you again.
Jack Hanks, VPA Claims. Email jack@vpa.claims. Our website, www.vpa.claims as well, man. And we certainly appreciate all your hard work, Richie, man. Without you, the state would not even be where it is. And we're getting our asses handed to it, but you're just fighting, bro. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Yeah, and at this point, all we can do is bring the information to you guys just to say this is what's happening. Take a look at your policy. And Hans Kennon, thank you so much. How do we get a hold of you, Hans?
407-782-0258, 407-782-0258.
All right, talk to you guys next week. See you.